Close your eyes and listen. The sea never sleeps. It sighs against the shore, restless, endless. A heartbeat older than time itself. Every wave is a whisper of the past. Every ripple a memory of those who tried to tame it and failed. Naimahinate, as the year 1372. You're standing on a wooden dock that smells of fish, smoke, and fear. The wind claws at your cloak. Before you, tied to the pier with thick ropes and silent prayers, is a ship, not a sleek marvel of discovery, but a creaking coffin made of timber, nails, and a sliver of hope. Its sails hang limp in the fog. Its deck is dark, with tar and the stains of men who never came back. A rough, impatient voice calls your name. Captain, he doesn't care who you are. Only that you can pull a rope and not die too quickly. You sign your mark in a thick, damp book. Jessica. Most who sail can't read, and fewer will live long enough to learn. This isn't the age of glory you've read about. This is Europe in the 14th century. A world half-starved and half-afraid, where war drains the land, plague fills the graves, and the sea swallows what's left. Men don't become sailors because they dream of the horizon. They do it because the land has betrayed them, because hunger is a slower, crueler death than drowning. They sign away years of their lives for a handful of silver and a desperate prayer that the sea will let them come home. The moment you step aboard, the world changes. The shore melts into gray. You smell salt, tar, sweat, and fear all at once. The deck sways, alive and groaning. Men move like shadows, wrapped in rough wool and resignation. You sleep shoulder to shoulder with coughing strangers. You wake before the sun, salt stinging your eyelids. Your hands blister, your skin cracks, and you chew on biscuits as hard as stone, drinking water that tastes the rust. We romanticize sailors now as explorers and adventurers, but the truth is quieter and far crueler. Most never came back. They died from fever, storms, or the simple exhaustion of being forgotten. The sea doesn't remember names, only screams that dissolve in wind and bones that settle in darkness. For those who survived, the sea became a cruel god that took everything and gave nothing back. This isn't a story of adventure. It's a story of endurance, of fear disguised as faith, of men who became ghosts long before their ships ever sank. And as you step into the damp, endless wind, one truth settles in your heart like a stone. You wouldn't last a day. Not here. Not in this world of salt and silence. Not in the life of a 14th century sailor. If this journey back in time captured your imagination, please like this video and subscribe for more stories that peel back the layers of history. The world smells of fish, salt, and cold iron somewhere far off. A bell tolls. One, then another. Slow, hollow, like the heartbeat of a dying port. Dawn crawls across the sky in shades of gray, and the harbor below stirs with noise and hunger. You stand there among them, just another shadow wrapped in rags, a face the wind forgets. Seagulls scream overhead, fighting over scraps. Barrels roll over wet cobblestones, the echoes sharp and hollow in the morning chill. You can smell the fish guts, the sweat, the faint sweetness of decay. And here, on this forgotten morning in the 14th century, you are about to sign away everything you be ever known. You weren't born to be a sailor. No one truly was. The sea was never a dream. It was an escape. Maybe your fields turned to mud after too many rains. Maybe the Lord raised taxes again, and your last pig went to his table. Or maybe you were unlucky enough to stand trial and the judge said, "The king needs men for ships. You can hang tomorrow or sail tonight." And so you came here, to the smell, to the shouting, to the endless gray water. You tell yourself, this is freedom. But when you see the ship waiting for you, you understand it's not. It's a coffin with sails, a wooden prison with ropes for bones. Around you, men sign their names or make shaky marks with charcoal. Each one looks smaller after doing it. The ship's master sits behind a crooked table, his face like driftwood, one eye clouded white as sea foam. He looks you over. No questions about your past. no papers, just a stare long enough to make you wish he'd speak. When he doth, his voice grinds like rope through wood. Can you pull a line? You nod. Can you keep your mouth shut? You nod again. He dips the quill. Name, you whisper it. And he writes it down. The contract is simple. Service until return. Wages upon safe arrival. Death, desertion, or disobedience forfeits all pay. You press your mark beside your name. The man shuts the book, nods once, and points to the ship. Go. You belong to her now. You climb the gangplank slowly, the wood slick with frost and slime. The ship towers above you, a dark mass of wood and shadow. Its hull groans with every small wave, as if it already resents you for stepping aboard. Sailors move across the deck like ghosts, silent and methodical. The captain stands near the mainmast broad-shouldered, watching. You realize S the kind of man who has buried more of his crew than he has ever paid. He looks at you, just once, and you feel it. Whatever you were before this moment no longer matters. You are no longer a farmer, a thief, or a beggar. You are a cargo now. The ropes are loosed. The sails rise, creaking. A voice shouts, "Heave!" and the men strain together. The ship moves slow at first, then faster, cutting through the black water. The dock drifts away. The land becomes a shadow. And in that small, unholy silence between departure and distance, you understand what it means to be lost. You look back, and the land already looks distant, unreal. A painting fading in fog. Someone near you vomits over the side. A sailor mutters a prayer, then spits on the deck. You grip the rail. The salt spray hits your lips. It tastes like iron and sorrow. Darkness comes fast over water. The stars appear, cruel and silent. Below deck, the air is heavy with sweat and rot. Rats skitter across beams. Hammocks sway above barrels of salted meat. A man coughs so hard, he spits blood into a rag. You try to sleep, but the floor feels alive, pulsing with the heartbeat of the sea. Every splash outside sounds like footsteps. You realize that for all your life, you feared hunger and shame. But not until now have you known true fear. The kind that comes from endless black water beneath you, and nothing above you but stars that don't care whether you live or die. When dawn breaks, it doesn't feel like morning, just a change of color. Gray sky, gray water, gray faces. The bosun shoves a bucket into your hands. "Scrub," he says, "and don't stop till I say so." The deck is slick with filth. Your fingers numb, your knees raw. You scrub while the wind tears at your hair. Someone laughs. "Land boy," they call you. Let's see how long you last. You don't answer. By midday, your hands bleed. By evening, you no longer feel them. The sea stretches forever. The ship creaks, sways, and breathes. And somewhere deep inside you, the part that still remembers home, something breaks quietly. Not with a scream, but with a sigh. Because now, you belong to the sea, and she does not give back what she takes. That comes next. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine the harbor has vanished. The shore that once held your entire life has dissolved into a gray mist. Nothing more than a whisper behind the horizon. You're standing barefoot on the warped planks of a ship that creaks like an ancient, living thing. All around you is water blue, gray, and absolutely endless. Then, the first bell rings. It's not a sound of music or prayer. It's a command. It's the note that separates sleep from labor, breath from duty. You rise from the damp boards where you've slept, a corner of the lower deck, where the air hangs thick with salt, mold, and sweat. Your body aches, joints stiff, mouth dry with brine. The ship wakes with you, groaning under the pressure of the waves, the wind whistling through the rigging. You climb to the main deck. The world above is colorless, a dawn without light. Heave the lines. The order is snatched by the wind. but the meaning is clear. Your hands grab the coarse hemp ropes, pulling, twisting, coiling until your palms burn. You move with the others men who were once farmers, beggars, thieves, now just about disobeying the rhythm of rope and command. The work is endless, repetitive, a cycle learned through pain. The ship's sails swell, the deck tilts, and the stench of tar and bilge water rises to meet you. The captain paces near the helm, silent, his eyes fixed on the horizon. He doesn't need to speak. His presence alone commands fear. Hours pass, marked only by the ringing of that bell. Each toll signals another shift, another rope to haul, another reminder that your time belongs to the sea. Lunch is a ritual, not a relief. You sit on the deck, passing around a tin cup of briny water and a biscuit as hard as bone. You crack it open, find a weevil crawling inside, brush it away, and eat. Hunger leaves no room for disgust. The older sailors don't talk much. They've learned that words waste breath. They move like men who surrendered something long ago. As sunset turns the sea to molten bronze, the work continues. When the final bell rings, you descend back into the damp, heavy air of the lower deck. You lie down among the sleeping bodies, and as the ship sways, you realize something terrifying. You've only been at sea for a single day. The voyage has barely begun, but you already understand why so many who leave the shore never truly come back. Not because they die, but because a part of them dissolves into the rhythm of the waves until the sea owns them completely. The next morning comes without a sunrise, just a dim grayness. The bell rings again. Another day, exactly like the last. On deck, the wind slaps your face. The sea is restless, making the ship roll and your stomach twist. Orders come fast. You pull, you climb. You scrub the deck not for beauty, but to keep the rot from spreading. This isn't an adventure. It's just the ache of muscle and the endless slap of waves. You begin to understand what the old sailors mean when they say, the sea eats time. Days blend together. Bells ring, ropes tighten, meals appear, work repeats. You're in a loop that never breaks. You climb the mast, hands numb, the rope biting into your palms. Below you, the vast, unfeeling sea moves on. If you fell, you would simply vanish. No one would dive in. The sea doesn't give back what it takes. Your body starts to move on its own. Hull, scrub, climb, coil. Your mind empties, and in that emptiness, you start to hear the ship's rhythms. The groaning wood becomes a heartbeat. The waves, a breath. The wind, a low song. It's not madness, not yet. It's the beginning of surrender. The land, with its warmth and stillness, feels like a distant dream you once had. Now, there is only this. The wind, the ropes, the endless, indifferent sea, and the work that never ends. No one remembers when the food first began to run out. It didn't happen in a single, dramatic moment. It began quietly, like everything at sea. The bread grew harder. The water grew darker. The men stopped asking questions. Each morning, the cook emerged from below deck, his hands shaking as he scraped the bottom of the bucket for crumbs. The smell of rot followed him mold. Sweat, something sour and old. The biscuits had gone soft, coated in green fuzz. The water in the barrels was thick and slick, tasting of wood and decay. Still, the men drank. There was no choice. The captain said little, his face carved from wind and worry. The maps on his table were peeling apart at the edges. The sea stretched endlessly around them, silent and heavy. No one sang anymore. There was only the sound of slow, weak breathing, and the sigh of the ship searching for something it would never find. By the second week, men started counting what was left. 1 cup of water, half a biscuit, a handful of peas. You began to understand how long a day truly is when there is nothing to fill it but hunger. The skin on your fingers splits open from salt. Your stomach twists in long, hollow waves. You dream of bread, of roasted meat, of the heavy sweetness of fruit. You wake to the taste of salt on your tongue, and when you look around, you realize the others are dreaming the same dream. Then, the sickness came, just as quietly. It crept in, growing in the dark. The first to fall was a boy, barely 16. His gums bled when he chewed. Soon, his teeth loosened. Then his legs swelled. The ship's surgeon, a man more ghost than healer, worked with a dull knife and a bottle of rum, cutting dead flesh from the boy's gums. The sound was slow, wet, muffled by screams. But scurvy isn't something you can cut out. It eats you from the inside. The smell of sickness began to fill the ship heavy, sweet, unforgettable. It mixed with the salt and tar until it became part of everything. Others followed, legs trembling, teeth falling loose, bodies too weak to lift the sails. When a man died, no one wept. They tied a weight to his feet, carried him to the rail, and let him go. The sound of his body hitting the water was dull a sound, too soft for death. Here, death wasn't an event. It was a rhythm, like TT. By the third week, the line between sleep and waking dissolved. You started to hear things, whispers in the night, voices calling your name from below the water. The others saw them too. No one said it aloud. At night, the ship seemed to breathe, the boards stretching and groaning. The sea was gray by day, black by night. It offered nothing. One man, a strong sailor, stood at the edge of the deck and whispered that the sea was calling his name. No one stopped him when he stepped forward. There was only a splash. The captain didn't mention it. The logbook stayed blank. The hunger stopped hurting after a while. The body learns to make peace with emptiness. It becomes quiet, dangerously quiet. Your thoughts slow. Your breath slows. When you look at the men beside you, you barely recognize them. Eyes sunken. Skin cracked like dried leather. The work still continues, but it's mechanical now. No thought. No hope. Just movement. In those moments between tasks, you can hear your own heartbeat slow, thick, echoing in your ears like drums of death. He dies at night, quietly. In the morning, he's still lying where he fell. They lift him light now, to light and carry him to the rail. A splash, a ripple, then nothing. The water closes over him, swallowing memory itself. The next order is shouted. The ship keeps moving. Then, one morning, the air smells different. Warmer, softer. The lookout shouts, his voice hoarse and broken. There, far in the distance, is a faint line of green. Land. For the first time in weeks, voices rise. Some cry, some laugh. The captain stares at the horizon, lips tight, as if he's not sure whether it's salvation or another curse. The ship groans and turns its tired hull toward the light, and you can barely stand. But you hold the rail, eyes locked on that distant shore. Your body is ruined, your mind frayed, but somewhere, deep inside, a small flame flickers, something that might still be called hope. As you move toward that thin green promise, one thought drifts through your mind. Maybe the sea is done with you, or maybe it's only letting you go. For now, the wind has gone quiet. Not gone, just tired. It sighs through the rigging like a ghost, too weak to haunt. I wake to the sound of the water barrel being unsealed. Every man turns his head, because that sound means hope. But when the lid comes off, the hope rots with the smell. The water has turned black. It stinks of mold. Men line up with cups, watching the thick, green film float to the surface. Some hold their noses and drink, others gag. I take a sip. It burns, not with heat, but with bitter salt that tears at my throat. But I drink again, because thirst doesn't ask permission. It commands. The ship's biscuit, once just hard and tasteless, now moves. Little white worms crawl through the cracks. They've grown fat on what we were supposed to eat. Someone jokes, more meat that way. No one laughs. Rations shrink. A cup of foul water. A sliver of biscuit. By nightfall, men scrape the empty barrels for crumbs, fingernails tapping the wood like rats. Hunger changes men. It softens their faces first, then hardens everything else. Words turn sharp. Hands twitch near knives. I watch two sailors fight over a moldy crust. Their strength pitiful. The winner doesn't gloat. He just eats tears, mixing with the rot. It begins with the gums. Soft, swollen, bleeding when you chew. My teeth feel loose. Astuktheri, trying to escape my skull. The ship's surgeon, a man with eyes as gray as dirty steel, cuts open sores with a dull knife. He hums while he works, because if he stops, he'll hear the screams. Scurvy spreads like a curse. Legs swell. Skin bruises black. The stench becomes unbearable. The sick lie in corners, whispering prayers. I start breathing through my mouth, but the air still tastes of decay. The smell of the ship is no longer wood or tar or sea. It's rot. It seeps into the ropes, the blankets, my skin. I wake up tasting it. At night, the stars shine above, clean, distant, mocking. I wonder if the gods can smell what I smell. I wonder if they care. Then, men start whispering to the sea. Not prayers, conversations. I wake to one man crouched by the railing, murmuring, "She's calling. The sea's calling." By dawn, he's gone. Others begin to hear voices. Laughter under the waves. Songs in the wind. One swears he saw a woman's face beneath the surface. I start hearing it too, a deep hum beneath the ship. Sometimes it sounds like music. Sometimes like my heartbeat. A boy dies, quietly. His body is wrapped in canvas and dropped overboard. The splash echoes longer than it should. Someone whispers, "Lucky boy." No one disagrees. But then, one morning, a cry breaks through the fog, so full of disbelief. It almost hurts to hear. Land ahead. Men stumble to their feet, eyes wild. We rush to the rails, to the rigging, to the edge of hope. And there it is, a dark line on the horizon. Salvation, or another curse. For the first time in weeks, the air smells of something other than death. There comes a point when even suffering grows quiet, not from mercy, but from exhaustion. The ship moves through a windless fog. No sound, but the gentle groan of wood. Even the sea seems still. Time breaks apart. I no longer count days. I just measure existence by the number of times I wake up still breathing. In the silence, I realize what true fear is. Not death, not hunger, but nothingness. I start seeing them at the edge of my vision. The ones who died. Their faces appear in the fog, in the ripples of the sea. Just watching. The surgeon calls it the brain starving, but his hands shake too much now to hold his knife. The sea has a rhythm. Slow, patient, ancient. My own breath falls into its pattern, as if my lungs are filled with seawater instead of air. One night, I lean over the railing and whisper, "If you want me, take me gently." I don't believe it at first. A shape on the horizon. I blink, expecting it to vanish. But it stays! Then someone shouts, "Land!" Land ahead. Men crawl, stumble, rush to the side. The captain, gaunt and trembling, grips the railing. The ship turns its battered hull toward salvation. Tears run down my face, but as the wind shifts, another smell reaches me. Smoke, yes, but not wood smoke. Something darker. Charred. Rotten. I see shapes on the shore now. Wreckage. Bones. Another ship. The captain lowers his head. The sea hums beneath the hull, deep, calm, almost amused. I realize then. The sea gives, and the sea takes. And sometimes, what it gives isn't mercy. Still, the men cheer, because after so much death, even illusion feels like life. The ship limps toward the dark line of land, toward what looks like salvation but smells like death. My heart beats for the first time in days. But deep beneath, something stirs. The waves rise. The wind sharpens. The sea whispers, "You thought you'd escaped me." The horizon trembles, and I understand. The storm was never behind us. It was waiting. For what feels like an eternity, we've only known salt and despair. But today is different. It takes half a day before anyone truly believes it. Land. Clear. Solid. Stretching from one horizon to the other. Not a mirage. Not a dream. Real earth. Real hills. Real trees swaying in a wind that smells of grass instead of salt. Our ship limps closer, its timbers groaning like tired old bones. I'm at the bow, my hands blistered and split, gripping the railing. Below, the water has changed from the black abyss of the open sea to a pale, earthy green. It smells different, not like death, but like life, trying to remember itself. Around me, the other men whisper in disbelief. Some let out hollow, broken laughs that turn into coughs. Others fall to their knees, clutching the wood, whispering prayers to every god they ever knew. And some they just invented in desperation. I want to fall too, but my legs won't obey. They tremble, unsure what standing even means anymore. We haven't stood on anything solid for months. The wind shifts, carrying the scent of soil, smoke, and pine. For the first time in what feels like centuries, I smell something that isn't terrot or salt. The captain watches from the quarterdeck, his face unreadable, carved from the same tired wood as the ship. Is he thinking of how few of us remain? Or is he wondering if any of this means survival at all? When the ship finally scrapes against the dock, it feels like the earth itself sighs beneath us. I hesitate before stepping off, as though the ground might tilt and vanish. And when I finally do, my body rebels. The world sways. The cobblestones rise and fall like waves. I stumble, my knees buckling. The ground doesn't trust me yet. Around me, men collapse. Some kiss the earth, pressing their faces into the dirt like reunited lovers. Others just sit, staring, their eyes open but still seeing nothing but water. The town watches as dock workers, merchants, women with baskets all silent. They look at us like we've just stepped out of the grave. And in a way, we have, but then they smell us. The stench of rot and decay clings to our rags. They step back. They whisper. One person laughs. The sea strips dignity as icely as it strips flesh. We have returned, but not to anything that remembers us. Days turn into weeks. I stay in a tavern that smells of wood smoke and damp wool. It should feel safe, but it doesn't. Every creak of the floorboards sounds like the groan of the ship. Every shadow feels like fog. Outside, life goes. And children shout. Dogs bark. Traders argue. It's almost unbearable. All this noise, this color. I thought I missed it, but it feels foreign now. Sometimes I see the other survivors in the harbor. We nod, but say little. We share a silence deeper than friendship, an understanding that only exists between people who've looked at the edge of the world and returned. Sleep is the hardest battle. I close my eyes, and the sea returns. Endless water, endless motion, endless hunger. I wake up, drenched in sweat, heart pounding, the sound of waves still in my ears. Some nights, I swear I can hear the ship creaking just outside my window. But when I look, there's only fog. It follows me everywhere. The sea doesn't let go easily. Seasons change. My hair grows gray. My hands stay calloused. I find small work on the docks, telling stories no one fully believes. People ask what the sea was like. I never tell them the truth. I tell them about the sunsets, the stars, the way the horizon burns gold at dawn. Not the hunger, not the ghosts, not the silence between heartbeats. How do you explain that you lived in a place where time stopped, where men became memories before they even died? I realize the sea doesn't frighten me anymore. I visit it often, sitting on the rocks at dusk, listening to the slow pulse of the tide. It's the only rhythm that still makes sense. I close my eyes and breathe it all. In salt, wind, memory. The sea never left me, because it asterisk me now. It moves where I move. It sleeps when I sleep. It waits, quietly, for me to return. And somewhere beyond the harbor, another ship waits. Its crew, half drunk and half afraid, are dreaming of glory. They don't yet know what waits beyond the horizon, but I do. I've seen what the sea keeps, and what it takes. I turn away from the water, my boots pressing into the cold stones. Behind me, the tide rises, whispering my name, and for the last time, I don't answer. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more tales from the depths. Stay safe out there. The sea grows calm again. The lanterns flicker softly, their flames bowing with the rhythm of the breeze. The ship, that floating coffin of dreams and despair, funnily drifts into silence. No shouting, no ropes slapping the mast, no gulls crying above. Only the quiet creak of wood, the heartbeat of a vessel that has seen too much. The air tastes of salt and memory. Every gust carries a whisper of names once spoken, of laughter that the sea swallowed whole. Far out on the black horizon, the moon sits heavy and kind, like a tired eye keeping watch over what remains. And beneath it, the sea sighs. Slow, ancient, eternal. For centuries, men like you sailed these endless waters not for glory, but for survival. They weren't heroes carved in stone or sung about in poems. They were farmers, thieves, orphans, dreamers all, bound together by hunger, by debt, by hope. They slept beside rats, ate rot and salt, and prayed for storms to pass. Every voyage was a gamble with death, and every sunrise was a small miracle. They built the world we know, carrying silk and salt. Golden stories, yet history remembers few of their names. They fed empires, built fortunes they would never touch, and vanished beneath waves that kept no record of their passing. Some found land again. Others became part of the sea, their bones softening into coral, their whispers mixing with the current. But all of them gave a piece of themselves to the water. The sea is life, death, and eternity, a mirror that shows what we truly are. It is endless, indifferent, yet strangely tender. It gives and takes without reason, and in its rhythm, you hear something that belongs to every living thing, the pulse of time itself. The sea doesn't promise safety. It promises truth, because when you're alone beneath the stars, when the wind turns cold and the horizon disappears, you learn how small you are and how infinite everything else is. And maybe that's the lesson all sailors carried home, if they made it home at all. That courage isn't about winning against the sea. It's about standing before it, trembling and not running away. So let the waves fade to whispers. Let the sails fall still. Let the ropes slacken and the decks rest in peace. The voyage is over now. The storms have passed. The hunger is gone. All that remains is the slow rocking of the tide, the gentle pull between this world and the next. You've sailed through darkness, through salt and sorrow. Now, you drift in stillness. The stars above are your only map, the sea below your cradle. The ship no longer moves. The horizon no longer frightens you. It just waits, quiet, patient, endless. If this story carried you through the tides of time tonight, if it let you drift through storms and silence alike, leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. There will be another voyage soon, another dream, another story, another sea. But for now, rest, sailor. The world is calm, the night is kind, and your journey for this moment is done. Sleep well until the next tide.